I look around, there's Robert Plant pointing his finger directly at me. And he goes, "What is that?"
Your home for melodic heavy metal. This is the Signals of Intuition.
We're standing on the edge. I can't. Oh, I can't.
There's brand new Robin McAuley right there. The title track from his brand new solo album, Standing on the Edge, due out May 7th on Frontiers Records. You're listening to the Signals of Intuition, your home for melodic hard rock and heavy metal. And tonight on the show, we've got the singer of that band, Mr. Robin McAuley. Robin is also perhaps best known as the lead singer of the Macaulay Schenker group he did in the late 80s and early 90s with Michael Schenker, as well as a new project he has with Frontiers called Black Swan. He's also sung with Survivor for about 5 years in the late 90s and early 2000s as well, and also Grand Prix in the early 80s. So let's get Robin on the line right now. Hey, Robin, how's it going? It's Brandon from the Signals of Intuition.
I apologize, my friend. We just ran over.
I do that a lot, so that's perfectly okay.
I am so sorry, but I'm here now. I don't see you. Where are you?
I don't have a webcam, so this is just audio.
Well, I can see me and I look great.
Perfect.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thanks for waiting.
No, it's no worries. Like I said, it happens often with myself, so that's all good. So when I do these, I always like to start at the beginning of you as a musician and then work our way up to the new record. So starting from sort of the beginning, where did you grow up and how did you get started in music?
So I'm Irish, born and raised. I grew up in the south of Ireland, a place called County Meath. You know, we always talk about St. Patrick's Day. My actual birthplace was Tara, which is very famous for St. Patrick because supposedly in the year 432 AD, he brought Christianity to Ireland and dug up a shamrock and he said, "Look at this, Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit." And the rest we know became the Irish emblem. I moved to London when I was 19, went to visit one of my sisters, and I never went home. And I joined Grand Prix while I was in London. And we made 2 records, There for None to See and Samurai. And I had Michael Schenker come see one of those shows and offer me the position as singer while I was still with Grand Prix, which I declined because I was committed to the Grand Prix and touring and all of that sort of stuff. And 4 years later, Michael tracked me down again. And this time around, I was the last of 17 singers. I was the chosen one. So it went on to be Macaulay Schenker, not my choice. That was Michael's idea. And Far Corporation came up in the middle of that. Got to work with Bobby Kimball and Scott Gorham from Thin Lizzy and a lot of amazing musicians. Carried on with MSG, and I ended up here in the U.S., and I've been here for almost 33 years. And I've done a lot, Black Swan record. A second Black Swan record we're already working on that. So, and now I have Standing on the Edge, a solo record, which I'm very happy about it. We will drop that 1 week from today.
So what's funny is you just hit, I think, my entire interview, my whole set of questions.
I do that sometimes,
That's cool. So I guess let's backtrack just a bit. Now, with Grand Prix, on that you worked with producer Greg Walsh. Tell me how it was working with him. He's got this storied career with, Tina Turner and Kate Bush and all these other people. How was it working with him on that record? Was that your first time ever recording?
That was my first real time recording. Yeah. And it was great because I was actually singing in a pub band and I had the guitar player and the bass player from what became Grand Prix. They used to be called Paris. And they were on RCA Records, and they had a different singer, Bernie Shaw, who, as we know, of course, sings with Uriah Heep.
Yep.
I'm singing top 40 music in the pub, and they were recording a record, and they called me and said, "Hey, Bernie's on vacation because he's Canadian. He's back in Canada. Would you come to the studio and do some guide vocals?" And I went, "You don't need me. You sing, Phil sings, but it'd be good to hang." So by the time I got down there and left the studio, I'm now the new singer for Grand Prix and working with Greg Walsh. And, I was a newbie. I think I wrote one song on the night in the studio called, I think it was called Take a Chance or something. It was a riff that Mick had. And it was a shocker. I went, wait, I just came down here to hang, and now I'm suddenly in a band, and I'm recording like a real album that I had never done before. Yeah, I didn't know anything, to be honest. And I wish I could re-record those songs, because I think I would do a much better job today than I did then. But, such it is. I have said that to the other guys. And, of course, I bumped into Phil Lanza a number of times out with Schenker Fest, and which is why I actually went to Phil when I started looking for songs for Standing on the Edge. And I went, people keep asking you about a Grand Prix reunion, which most likely won't happen. So why don't we write a song and give them a connection that way? So Phil and I, of course, co-wrote Like a Ghost, which is on the record. It's what else can I tell you?
Well, that's really interesting how I don't think I've ever heard a story like that where it's just you literally step into the studio. I've heard it like you fill in for a gig and it goes well, but studio seems to be a brand new one.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's been the story of my life, actually, right up till probably Black Swan, because I've always seemed to be the replacement guy. I replaced Gary Bardens, and then Gary was back in, and then Graham Bonnet was there, so suddenly I'm in behind. Who replaces Graham Bonnet, for God's sake? But there I am. And now I'm singing with Schenker, and I think the first real non-replacement type guy position is my Black Swan thing with Red Beach and Jeff Pilson and Matt Starr, which I'm really proud of, and wish I'd done that years ago.
Yeah. Oh, it's a fantastic album. And I mean, it was so cool to hear, because I saw you with Michael Schenker in Detroit, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago?
Right.
Something like that?
Right.
And honestly, at that point, I didn't realize you were still active in music. Like, I loved the Macaulay Schenker stuff.
I didn't know either.
Well, it's it, because you had, Grand Prix and Far Corporation, and then, of course, MSG. And then it was like, okay, I didn't really hear much. I remember the solo album, and then it was kind of not a whole lot for a while. And then I saw you and Michael Schenker go, wow, Robin still has it. Wow, that is fantastic. So absolutely, I was just blown away by the performance, because like you say, who replaces Graham Bonnet? Well, I thought you did a great job having to sing alongside him.
Well, thank you. I love what I do. I still love it. I still get all fired up, bent out of shape. I just do. I look forward to it. And of course, I don't know if you know, but I've been one of the original cast members with the Classic Rock Show in Las Vegas, Raiding the Rock Vault, for the past 7 years. And we performed 5 nights a week right up to the pandemic with almost 1,500 shows. So I just wasn't out on tour, but I was up on stage every night in Vegas for the last 7 years with I have to say, the number one Best of Vegas show for 6 consecutive years. So the lineup of that show, absolutely incredible. Howard Leese from Heart on guitar and Bad Company. We had Doug Aldridge and Dave Amato from Oreo Speedwagon, Phil Suzanne from Now Last in Line, but of course played with Ozzy. Jay Shellen on drums. Is now with Yes. Hugh McDonald, Bon Jovi's bass player.
Oh yeah.
He's in the band. Michael T. Ross, who was with Lita. Paul Shortino on vocals. Mark Bowles, Andrew Freeman, Todd Kearns.
Just insane.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then 2 amazing girl singers: Meatloaf singer Sean Coey, and a girl that was on The Voice from Wisconsin, Megan Ruger. I could just keep going. Stephanie Calvert from Starship. So I could just keep going. It just gets better and better. Plus, we had Lou Gramm guest with us. We had Bobby Kimball. We had Jolene Turner, John Anderson. It's like a dream come true,
You're pretty much listing off my record collection, so just keep going.
My sisters would say, this snotty-nosed kid from Ireland, he's up there with like some of the biggest names in the rock industry, and I'm going, I'm not supposed to be where I am. But thankful and grateful for it, Brendan. I can tell you every day, it's like going, oh my God, it's fantastic. I don't take it lightly. And I do love what I do, and I'm very concerned that I stay on the game and in the game and take care of myself and make sure that my voice is capable of the task asked of me. So that's really important to me. And thanks for your comments. That's really good.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, no, it's funny. I tried to catch that show. I was in Vegas January 2020, and I think you guys had an off week or something because it wasn't running when I was down.
Yes, you would think August would be a really busy time, but August isn't for shows. So we typically would have August, and then we would typically immediately after New Year's take the first 2 weeks of January off because people start to leave, go home, and life returns after Christmas, and people have had too much to drink and they've spent all their money and now they need to go back to work. And Vegas is not a good place because they'll just, they'll lose their houses if they stay.
Yeah, I was right during that time. I was like, I can't, that was one of, because I'm not a big Vegas show guy, but I did keep an eye out for that because I knew yourself and many of the other people involved with it. So I wanted to check that out. And unfortunately, I just happened to be in town when it was off.
Yeah,
so.
We're just waiting for the green light when Vegas is scheduled to open fully June 1st. So what does fully mean these days? I'm not really sure. Masks are still mandated, at least for the time being. But they're going to take a big major stab at it and keep as much of the protocols in place that they can till we get back to real normality. It's just, we can't wait. It's a horrible time. I said to somebody this morning, from 5 nights a week with almost 1,500 shows reduced to 5 minutes in the shower. That's as much singing as I get, Thank God for this solo record.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Oh, it's funny. I interviewed Jeff Scott Soto a couple months ago, and he said that, the one nice thing it has done for him, like yourself working basically nightly doing this, to actually have that chance to really rest your voice.
Yes.
So I'm sure that's probably helped a lot when it comes to the studio.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that because when I was writing this, and then it came to crunch time, and I actually had to record my vocals, I hadn't really sang for almost 6 months. And so when I went into the studio, I went, this is not going to be that easy. So I really had to go back to the drawing board and start seriously doing what I usually do, all my little tricks and my steaming and vocal exercises. And then I was ready. And then everything just came back in line and off we went. But if an athlete doesn't train every day, those muscles will start to stiffen up and he's going to hurt himself when he goes out there the first time. So you really have to work the muscle and go, wake up, we're about to work here. And that's what I do. It's really important that you take care of it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. No, I'm a singer myself. And like you, I don't sing that often live anymore, but it's always like I've got to build myself up for a few weeks. Like you say, it's exactly like an athlete. You can't just go from not having worked out to a year to, okay, go, because you'll kill yourself.
You can't. And if you do, you'll create more damage because if you have to force it, it's not there.
Yeah. Stepping back to MSG for a minute, the first record you did, Perfect Timing, was recorded with Andy Johns. How was it working with him as a producer and making that album? I see it was recorded all over the world, like Germany, Denmark, Sound City in LA, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, Andy lived in LA and he came to Germany to meet the band. We picked Andy, Michael and myself, because believe it or not, we just loved the production on the Cinderella record. And we went, we want that drum sound, we want that whole thing. And of course, Andy goes all the way back to Zeppelin. He recorded Zeppelin, he recorded John Bonham. He also recorded Free. So, I mean, what a pedigree. He worked on the Cinderella record. Andy, God rest his soul, was quite the character. I mean, quite the character. There was a bunch of run-ins between him and Michael that, we thought we would never get the record finished. But we got it done. Interestingly enough, considering his background, Michael and I were really not happy with the final production. We thought it was too lightweight. We expected it to be like, slam dunk, heavy, smack you across the head. But there was a great lacking of Michael's guitar in the mix and yada, yada, yada. So we tried to just move forward when it came to Save Yourself and make sure that didn't happen. And it's a heavier, sonically sounding, better record. But Andy is not with us anymore, and there were some interesting times. That's all I will say. Yes.
So on that record, like you say, with Save Yourself, you guys had a pretty sizable hit with Anytime. Did that song really change, let's say, like people coming out to shows and that kind of thing? Like, did that help propel the band that much more forward?
Oh,
or
without question. I mean, first of all, when we had Perfect Timing, Love was a single, and that really opened the doors for us at MTV, which Michael never had daytime rock radio in the States. He didn't have VH1. It didn't exist anyway. But Michael and I were actually the first artist, if you will, that actually opened the very first showing of Headbangers with Ricky Rahman.
Really?
Not a lot of people know that, but we were the very first. And we got our MTV slot from the singles off of Perfect Timing. And so when Save Yourself came around, I think the first thing that they put out was, I think, Bad Boys, because it was sort of had a commercial fun, sort of LA kind of a sound. And, our label and our management were going, oh, we need to get MTV and we need to get VH1 because that way we'll get the tours. If we don't have that, we're not going to get the tours. And that was your foot in the door. So pressure was on, to write by numbers till you got the song. And if we didn't have, I don't hear the song, So the keyboard player, Steve Mann, and myself actually wrote Anytime, and everybody jumped on it at the label and they went, this is it, this is the one. And I remember very clearly that the CEO of EMI at the time, everybody, you record and you have a contract and then you have options that get either picked up or they don't, right, to do your next record. And I remember the CEO that I had a pretty good relationship with in Macaulay, Schenker. He called me from Germany and he said, the single is doing amazingly well. It's sitting at number 4 and it looks like it's going to cross over on the AOR charts, and I think it's going to cross over into the big top 40. And I'm going to give you an early Christmas present, and I'm already going to pick up. This is October. And he says, I'm already going to pick up the option for the next record. And I think wasn't due till January or February. And I went, oh my God, this is great. As luck would have it, the Grammys are coming up, and Bonnie Raitt's on Capitol, Poison are on Capitol, Great White are on Capitol, we're on Capitol. And so, so when the Grammys are coming up with Bonnie Raitt having 4 nods for Grammys, right, the label decided, we'll just halt everything and put all our energy into Bonnie Raitt. So Anytime never made that huge crossover that it was predicted to do. But to answer your question, it definitely whirled much more around. And when we'd go out on tour and we'd hit the radio stations, it was everybody's favorite. It was well received. In actual fact, it was never on iTunes about 4 years ago because people were just on our case about how come it's not on iTunes. So Steve and I decided that we should re-record the track to make it available for iTunes. And you will find if you try to Macaulay Schenker on iTunes, you probably won't, because Capitol and or EMI just never made it available on any of the records. So it's kind of weird. I'm not sure what we do about it, if we wanted to do anything about it, but that's how we got Anytime up on iTunes. And it's I think it's a fresher, better recording than even the original. That's tough to say, but I think it is.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I didn't know there was a re-record. That's really cool.
Yeah.
For the next record, you guys did just called it MSG. To me, at least, that seemed like a super group making a record. Is that true? Or were all those people officially in the band? Or was that more of a studio kind of thing?
That was purely done for financial reasons at the time, because the Macaulay Schenker players were still back in Europe, in the UK and in Germany, respectively. We wanted to get on with the business, and so Michael and I had a chat, and I said, well, we could use local guys, and if we do, Jeff Pilson and James Kotek are good friends of mine. I see them every week, and Michael says, oh my God, really? That would be awesome. So we had the songs written, we brought them into the rehearsal room, and the rest, as they say, is history. That was an easy one. Those guys are just phenomenal, and of course I've known Jeff for about 30 years. He was best man at our wedding. He's also the bass player and producer of Black Swan. So there's our 30-year relationship. No, supergroup, no. It made more sense for us financially to do that and not do it just to throw anybody. But, I knew those guys, and I knew, I really liked, for all of the critics, I really liked Kingdom Come. And what can you say about Dokken that's not to like,
Of course. Oh, those first two Kingdom Come records are incredible.
Right? And so they're good friends of mine. And I said, hey, guys want to record with Schenker? And they're going, when?
Yeah.
When? And so there it was. We got it done. A lot of people really liked the last record. Some great hits were produced by Kevin Beamish. It's all a matter of taste, And then it was over. It was over, it was like 92 or something. We never got to tour it. We did the Unplugged tour, which was probably the last thing we did under that sort of moniker, if you will, because simply Seattle, grunge, and alternative music hit the scene, and all the dinosaurs took a very long break. And as I said to somebody earlier, we were just grazing because we knew sooner or later the new kids on the block would just, eat themselves alive, which they did. There was a handful, if that came through that really stood the test of time, like your Soundgarden and your Pearl Jam and Nirvana. The rest were just like, it was a bit like the punk era when every A&R guy at every label was signing a single punk band. And how many of those survived,
I was going to say, or the new wave of British heavy metal. Like the Grand Prix days too, for every Def Leppard, there was a lot of bands who barely got past the demo.
Absolutely. And so that was kind of predictable. It still made things difficult because you couldn't work because nobody wanted that sort of sound. But we came back with a force and we're still there all of these years later, So, it's interesting that when you watch TV, if you watch TV, most of the car commercials are all our generation of music, Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? So the reason for that, I guess, maybe they get it for nothing. I don't know. I doubt it.
It could be, yeah. So around the time of MSG, you did the GMT album with Phil Taylor of Motorhead. To me, that album seemed like an updated version of Grand Prix.
They hit me up on that almost immediately after the demise of Grand Prix. And Filthy and Brian Robertson had just left Motorhead. Chris Glenn was in the band. They had a bunch of songs, and they went, do you want to record these songs, Robbie? So it happened. It didn't really last very long, simply because when we were in Germany doing some recording, a producer by the name of Frank Farian, who, don't laugh, was also Milli Vanilli's producer, and he wanted to put a project together, which became Far Corporation, and he liked my voice. I was invited into the studio. We re-recorded Stairway to Heaven together with Bobby Kimball. The first TV show we did in Berlin, when the single is now sitting at number 5 or number 8 on the UK charts, sold over 2 million singles, and we suddenly find ourselves on live TV to an audience of about 80-something million people in Germany. On the show, Robert Plant. So
wow.
The guitarist said to me when we were like getting our rehearsals and camera positions for the show during the afternoon, he goes, Robert Plant is staring into the back of your neck. And I'm going, come on. I look around, there's Robert Plant pointing his finger directly at me. And he goes, what is that? And we had a big black and silver backdrop with Stairway to Heaven on it. And he's looking at me and he's looking at the backdrop, and I'm going, I want my mommy. Yeah, so, again, how lucky am I, right? Oh, my God.
Oh, that's so funny. I can't imagine that, having like the idol sitting looking over your shoulder. You're singing my song right now, aren't you?
Hey, you're singing my damn song, right? And now I have actually paper. I kept a lot of paper cuttings where Robert Plant, they would have a photo of him and a photo of me, and we had mullets. And they would compare our mullets, man, who had the best mullet. So here's a snotty-nosed kid from Ireland, and now they're putting me up on the same daily newspaper with Robert Plant, and I'm going, this doesn't get much better. And so GMT didn't go anywhere. Oddly enough, all of those years later, Schenker Fest happens, and there's Chris Glenn again, and I did get to record with Brian Robertson. I also got with Far Corporation. I got to record and perform with Scott Gorham and re-record a 21 Gun song, which is on one of the Far Corporation albums called "I Wish." Beautiful ballad. So,
I didn't know there's a 21 Guns track. That's so cool.
Yeah, there's a 21 Guns track. I Wish. That's we did a cover of that, and Scott came into the studio and obviously played the guitars on that. So, I mean, I keep saying it. How lucky am I? So I take nothing lightly. Just so grateful. The fact that I'm still singing, still performing. I'm having an absolute blast, Brandon, and that's the truth of it. And 2 weeks ago, we started the new Black Swan record. So busy in this pandemic. So to hell with this COVID.
So Black Swan, tell me how this whole thing started. You mentioned your previous, work with Jeff and your close friendship with him. Was it like the two of you just getting together and saying, let's do something? Or was this Serafino behind it? Or Serafino
called Jeff. He goes, Jeff, put a supergroup. I hate that terminology. Put a supergroup together. Pilson calls me and I'm going, he told you to put a supergroup together, dude. And he goes, no, I'm serious. And I'm serious. I said, Jeff, I am not supergroup quality. And he goes, I spoke to Reb Beach because of the Dokken connection. Reb is totally up for it. And you're my first singer and my only singer. So I want you to do it. Please say you'll do it. And I said, you and I have known each other a very, very long time. And I said, I tell you what, I'll do it. Not just because of Reb, but if you play bass guitar. And he goes, nope, that's not part of the deal. I'm going to produce it, maybe get involved with the songwriting. And I went, I guess we'll just continue to see each other as friends. Fast forward, they sent me a bunch of music. I wrote some lyrics and a melody. I came into the Jeff studio. Reb is there. And Reb's going, what do you got, man? And so I started singing down. And the very first song I introduced to them was Big Disaster. And Reb stops me and he goes, seriously, dude? This is the first song that we've written together, and you come in here singing Big Disaster. And I went, oh, yeah, I didn't realize. And he goes, oh, dude, they'll kill us. And they'll just kill us. And then he goes, but I love it. And, of course, it became the second single, which was the first one. And the rest is history. We beat up Pilson, forced him to play bass guitar. And we weren't going to have it any other way. I was a happy camper, and it's a killer band. Killer band. Love it.
Oh, it's so good. You guys, I don't know if you haven't done any touring on it.
Oh my God. Unfortunately, no. But we will. We just have to. Yeah. It's an awesome band. It really is an awesome band.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. I mean, I remember when it came out, just the response to it was incredible.
Yeah. It came out the gate and we were shocked. We were going, wow, people actually like this. And people are going, never heard Macaulay sing like this. And I'm going, it's what I should have done years ago, thanks to Jeff Pilson. But yeah, so we're about 6 songs deep in the next one of writing. And I'm very excited. So
when you record, do you have your own studio or do you go somewhere else to cut your vocals?
No, I can demo at home, but I need to go in with proper mics and all of that sort of stuff. I don't have all of those. Pilson's got all that stuff, or I find a studio, but usually with Black Swan, we do it at his place. My record, the solo record, I did it with an engineer very close to my house, Andy Zuckerman, and he was kind enough to allocate 2 nights a week, 2-hour slots because of the pandemic and all of the stuff. So I'd see him on a Tuesday night and a Thursday night, sometimes on a Sunday afternoon, 7 o'clock till 9, go in with my blueprint, sing my song, and get the hell out of there. And we got the job done.
Yep.
Amazing.
No, tell me about that one. Was that again Serafino approaching you to do a solo?
I'm supposed to actually, Brandon, I'm supposed to be in another interview as we speak.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. I could talk here all day.
All right, Robin. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to do this. This was a lot of fun. I'm really digging the new solo record. We didn't get a chance to talk about it too much, but I think you've done a fantastic job on it. There's a lot of Black Swan in it, but it's also completely its own thing, so.
Thank you. Thanks, Brandon. I appreciate it. Keep playing it. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Take it easy.
Thank you.
Bye.